$10 billion for private jets. Apollo is snatching Atlantic Aviation right out of KKR's portfolio, and you still think private equity is playing defense?
I think you need to read the volume data, Nate. Q1 hit 1.02 trillion, but total transactions dropped 22%.
Who cares about volume when OpenAI is raising $110 billion? The Megadeal is back.
It's just heavyweights masking a dead middle market. But fine, let's look at how Apollo is actually funding this. The rundown.
$110 billion for an equity raise?
I had to refresh the terminal 3 times to make sure it wasn't a typo.
Amazon, Nvidia, SoftBank, all piling into OpenAI. The gossip right now is entirely about who actually holds the leverage there. Because if you're Amazon writing that check, you want priority access, but Nvidia already controls the chips.
It completely skews the Q1 numbers. Everyone is cheering that global M&A just passed $1.02 trillion for the quarter.
Which is massive. Megadeal spring is real.
It's a mirage, Nate. Look at the actual deal volume. It's down 22%. We just have a few gigantic market-distorting transactions hiding the fact that middle market activity is still crawling.
I completely disagree. The middle market is waking up because interest rates are finally stable enough to actually model debt again. Look at Carlyle. They just took a majority stake in MAI Capital Management at a $2.8 billion valuation. Wealth management roll-ups are back.
Okay, I'll give you wealth management, but the real value is infrastructure. BlackRock and EQT teaming up to swallow AES Corp for $33.4 billion.
Classic infrastructure play, predictable cash flows.
And huge power demands, which ties right into my favorite under-the-radar deal this week. Primary Services bought Pinecrest Electric for $422 million, all cash.
You always find the plumbing deals.
It's a data center play. Pinecrest wires the data centers. Primaris is buying the picks and shovels for the AI gold rush. That's so much smarter to me than throwing blind billions at language models.
Spoken like a true skeptic. Speaking of distinct tastes, McCormick is combining with Unilever's foods business.
The flavor powerhouse.
My entire pantry is now a single corporate entity.
I'm waiting on the regulatory filings tomorrow to see the exact structure of that new company and keeping a very close eye on the European Commission. They have a massive backlog of cross-border approvals right now.
They're going to need more coffee. But speaking of massive approvals, the real Wall Street drama this week is a private equity heavyweight handoff.
KKR and Apollo.
Exactly. Apollo is trying to snatch Atlantic Aviation right out of KKR's portfolio for a cool $10 billion. We need to tear into the actual pitch deck for this one. The big one. So Apollo handing KKR $10 billion for Atlantic Aviation is exactly what I mean. This is just peak private equity right now.
It is literally PE passing the same assets back and forth like a very expensive hot potato.
But it is a beautiful hot potato, Maya. Private jet infrastructure, that is a pure monopoly play. You own the hangars, you own the fuel, you own the ultra-rich. Apollo knows exactly what they are doing here.
I'm not saying they do not know what they are doing. I am saying 10 billion is a completely insane multiple. I looked at the historicals. KKR bought them back in 2021? For less than 5 billion. They are doubling their money in 5 years on parking spots for Gulfstreams.
Which just proves my point. The market is rewarding scale. Interest rates have finally stopped giving everyone whiplash. Bankers can actually model debt again without throwing up in their wastebaskets. Predictability is back and Apollo is weaponizing it.
Okay, but you are ignoring the actual data from this quarter. Yes, Q1 just crossed the $1.02 trillion mark globally. Trillion with a T? It sounds amazing on a pitch deck.
A massive quarter, the best we have seen in a long time.
But overall deal volume is actually down 22%.
Stop ruining my narrative with math.
I am just saying, the $1 trillion headline is completely masking the reality. We are not seeing a broad market recovery where everyone is doing deals. We are just seeing a few mega-cap giants and PE titans writing absurdly large checks. The sheer size of these transactions is skewing the curve.
I completely disagree with that. I do not think it is masking reality. I think it is the new reality. The middle market is frozen, sure. But if you have dry powder, you are hunting elephants. Apollo buying Atlantic is an elephant.
It is an elephant with a gold-plated saddle. KKR won this trade. I will say it right now. They get to cash out at the absolute top of the market, take their carry, and go home. Apollo gets to figure out how to squeeze more juice out of private jet landing fees when the market is already tapped.
You are so cynical. Apollo has the operational chops to expand this globally. They are not just buying hangars, they are buying the entire logistics chain for the 1%. It is an infrastructure play dressed up as an aviation deal.
If you say so. I just want to see the debt structure on this when the filings hit. I bet the footnotes are going to be wild.
Spoken like a true skeptic. But you have to admit, it perfectly captures the spirit of Q1 if you are not doing a 10 voices. So the consensus from the analyst desks this morning is that relative interest rate stability is finally letting dealmakers model debt with confidence. They are saying that is what is fueling this mega deal surge.
I read those notes, and honestly, I think they are misreading the data.
How so? $1.02 trillion in Q1 is massive. You cannot fake that.
You cannot fake the dollar amount, but look at the actual deal volume. Total transactions are down 22%.
Right, but the transaction sizes are huge. The debt markets are finally stable enough to actually run a model without throwing darts at a board.
I do not buy the confidence narrative. It is not broad market health. It is just a handful of AI and infrastructure whales distorting the quarter. You pull out OpenAI's $110 billion equity raise, and the baseline looks completely different.
Come on, you cannot just strip out the biggest deals and say the market is weak. The mega deals are the market right now. Look at the gossip around Apollo and KKR. Apollo is about to snatch Atlantic Aviation for $10 billion. That is a pure, confident private equity flex.
Or it is just mega funds passing a $10 billion hot potato back and forth because they have to deploy capital. KKR just bought that a few years ago.
Hey, passing a $10 billion potato generates a lot of advisory fees. I used to live off those potatoes.
And you wonder why I do not trust banker logic. But the leverage dynamics are what fascinate me. In that OpenAI raise, you have Amazon, Nvidia, and SoftBank all fighting for position. I want to see the term sheets. Who actually holds the power there?
We might get a look under the hood of some of these structures very soon.
Exactly. I am watching the European Commission docket tomorrow. They have to review this sudden wave of cross-border tech and infrastructure deals. Plus, we should finally get the regulatory filings on the McCormick and Unilever Foods combination.
I definitely want to see the fine print on how they are building that new global flavor giant. Spill the tea. $10 billion for private jet parking lots. I love private equity so much.
It's slightly more complex than parking lots, Nate. Atlantic Aviation runs the terminals and the fueling. But yes, Apollo handing KKR a cool $10 billion for it is quite the flex.
It's the ultimate sponsor-to-sponsor hot potato. KKR polished it up, and now Apollo is writing a massive check because interest rates finally stopped giving everyone whiplash. Bankers can actually model debt again.
True, but look at the Q1 data. We just crossed $1.02 trillion in total M&A value, which sounds amazing until you realize overall deal volume is actually down 22%.
Exactly. Fewer deals, much bigger checks. Megadeal spring is real. I mean, look at the OpenAI raise.
The Whisper network on that one is out of control right now.
$110 billion. For an equity raise, that's not a funding round, Maya. That's the GDP of a sovereign nation.
What really fascinates me is the cap table drama. You've got Amazon, Nvidia, and SoftBank all in the mix. I spent all morning trying to figure out who actually holds the leverage in that room.
It's Nvidia. Come on. Without the chips, the rest is just very expensive math.
I strongly disagree. SoftBank has the deepest pockets to keep funding the burn rate, and Amazon controls the cloud infrastructure. Nvidia has the pricing power today, but Amazon owns the distribution tomorrow.
Spoken like a true tech reporter, I'm telling you, Jensen Huang is holding the royal flush.
We'll see. I need to see the actual terms first. Speaking of reading the fine print, I'm dying to get my hands on the regulatory filings for this McCormick and Unilever mashup.
Oh, the new global flavor powerhouse? Yes, we need to figure out exactly how the European Commission is going to look at that structure. Tomorrow's radar.
I'm setting an alarm for the McCormick and Unilever Foods filings tomorrow. I need to see the actual structure of this flavor powerhouse.
You are the only person on Earth setting a morning alarm to read spice footnotes?
Someone has to. They will bury the integration costs, I guarantee it. What's on your radar?
The European Commission docket, they have to process this ridiculous pipeline of cross-border megadeals. We just crossed 1.02 trillion for Q1.
Driven entirely by deal size, Nate, not volume. Volume is actually down 22%.
I know, but look at the swings. Apollo snatching Atlantic Aviation from KKR for 10 billion. That is peak private equity hot potato.
Just billionaires trading private jet fleets to each other.
Exactly. Though nothing beats OpenAI's $110 billion equity raise. Who actually holds the leverage there? Amazon, Nvidia, or SoftBank?
SoftBank wishes. Nvidia holds the literal chips. We will tear into that cap table next time.